So if you could please take your seats, we are going to start here momentarily. So if you could please take your seats. Obviously, we have some very sensitive subjects to debate here, and I know that everyone's going to want to be focused on what we're talking about and want to pay very close attention. So we'll give you a couple more minutes to get ready, and then we're going to get started. Thank you very much, and good afternoon. Good afternoon, and if everybody could please take their seats, I call the meeting of the General Committee on Political Affairs and Security to order. I want everyone to know, colleagues, that the agenda for this meeting has been distributed. Could I please invite you to adopt the agenda? And are there any objections? If not, the agenda is adopted. May I remind colleagues that the election of committee officers will take place during the committee's final session tomorrow. That's Tuesday, July the 7th at 9 a.m. And as agreed yesterday, nominations for candidates for election should be handed in to the table office by 6 p.m. today. Again, the nominations for candidates for election should be handed in to the table office by 6 p.m. today. In this third meeting, we will continue the consideration of amendments to draft the resolutions from the rapporteur, Mr. Tobias Winkler. If there's time, we'll also consider supplementary item 1, countering the online radicalization of youth, proposed by Mr. Kamal Adien from Turkey, and supplementary item 5, that is strengthening a comprehensive, cooperative, and people-centered approach to combating drug trafficking and drug use and fighting organized crimes and all forms of mafia in the OSCE area, as proposed by Mr. Eugenio Sofili from Italy. We will now consider the amendments submitted to the draft resolution. Copies of the amendments have been made available and also can be accessed through the OSCE EPA app. As a reminder, in discussing amendments, I will call the proposer of the amendment first, and then we'll call any opponent of the amendment. I will then ask the sponsor of the draft resolution, Mr. Winkler, for his opinion. Following that, I shall put the amendment to the vote. I ask speakers to observe a time limit of 1 minute. I ask speakers to observe a time limit of 1 minute. This morning, we adopted a proposal that for paragraphs where there are no amendments and if nobody requests a vote, we can consider the paragraph adopted. Anytime a specific vote is requested, we will do so. We will now begin to consider paragraph 42. Does anyone want to vote on this paragraph? With no request for a vote, paragraph 42 is agreed. Now we're going to move on to Amendment 12. I call Mr. Portis from France to propose Amendment 12 to insert a new paragraph after paragraph 42. Mr. Portis, you are now recognized.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Un amendement ici pour venir après le paragraphe 42 pour réaffirmer notre soutien à l'indépendance, à la souveraineté et l'intégrité territoriale à la fois de la Palestine et du Liban au moment où la colonisation s'accélère en Cisjordanie, où une partie du Liban est annexée par l'État israélien. Je crois que c'est important que notre organisation rappelle son attachement au principe de souveraineté et le rappelle fortement pour la Palestine et le Liban, et aussi rappeler les États membres de l'OSCE et leurs responsabilités dans le cadre de prévention des crimes de guerre et des actes de génocide, et notamment la question de livraison d'armes à l'État israélien, de respect du mandat d'arrêt de Netanyahou, aujourd'hui sous le coup d'un mandat d'arrêt de la CPI. Donc c'est à la fois rappeler l'intégrité territoriale, la souveraineté de la Palestine et du Liban, mais aussi les obligations des États membres en prévention des actes de génocide.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 12? Now recognize Switzerland to speak against Amendment 12.
Ja, Herr Vorsitzender, geschätzte Kolleginnen und Kollegen, die Situation ist so, dass noch nicht alle Länder heute Palästina als eigenständiges Land anerkennen, die palästinensische Bevölkerung hingegen schon. Die Schweiz setzt sich seit Jahren für eine Zwei-Staaten-Lösung ein. Diese muss jedoch in einem friedlichen Prozess erfolgen. Entsprechend wäre es zum heutigen Zeitpunkt verfrüht, diesem Antrag zuzustimmen. Und dazu kommt auch, dass der Nahostkonflikt nicht im OSZE-Gebiet ist. Wir bitten Sie, diesem Antrag abzulehnen.
Does anyone else wish to speak against Amendment 12? Just the one? Okay, excuse me. What is Mr. Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I fully support my Swiss colleagues. So there is no territorial integrity today for Palestinian territory. There is no acknowledgement, recognition by all these participating countries of OSCE, and this must be at the end of a two-state solution. So therefore, this is not acceptable in the form it's formulated here. So therefore, I recommend to vote against this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Winkler. I shall now put Amendment 12 to vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment, please raise their voting cards?
One on my side.
Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Defeated. Amendment number 12 is defeated. Amendment number 13, I call Mr. Zoffili from Italy to propose Amendment 13 to paragraph 43. Mr. Zoffili from Italy, you are now recognized.
Grazie Presidente. Questo emendamento chiede agli Stati partecipanti OSCE di rafforzare la cooperazione anche nel contrasto alle violenze dei cosiddetti gruppi antifa e anarchici contro le istituzioni, contro le forze dell'ordine e contro i cittadini. In Italia, Presidente, per esempio, cari colleghi, questi ultimi si sono resi responsabili di sabotaggi ai danni delle linee ferroviarie in occasione dei Giochi Olimpici invernali Milano-Cortina, mettendo in pericolo la vita dei passeggeri e causando disservizi e ritardi. Hanno organizzato duri scontri e attacchi durante le manifestazioni di piazza e pensate che nel corso di un corteo a Torino hanno persino preso a martellate un poliziotto. Io stesso infine sono stato più volte minacciato di morte dagli anarchici. Queste componenti eversive e violente sono in collegamento tra loro anche a livello internazionale e rappresentano una pericolosa minaccia per la sicurezza della regione Osce. Per questi motivi chiedo al rapportore e a tutti voi di sostenere questo emendamento e resto a disposizione. Grazie.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 13? Are there any abstentions? I'm sorry, excuse me. Mr. Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
Thank you very much, and also thank you very much for sharing your personal and your country's experience with the Antifa and with anarchist attacks. I think this is too specific for a report like this, and it makes it weaker if we go to specific examples. Therefore, I would like to have it in the general form where everything is included, what you wanted to say, and therefore I recommend for vote against this amendment.
I shall now put Amendment 13 to vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment, please raise their voting cards. Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment 13 is defeated. Paragraph 43. We will now vote on paragraph 43. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 43 is agreed to. We're now on amendment number 14. I call Mr. Gallego from the United States of America to propose amendment 14 to insert a new paragraph after paragraph 43. Mr. Gallego, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The draft resolution before us does a good job tackling hybrid threats, but we need to look ahead at the other side of this coin, how AI is being wired directly into our weapon systems and onto the battlefield. We're watching the future of conflict play out in real time in Ukraine, but as these technologies move faster, we cannot afford to fall behind the rules that govern them. Let's be entirely clear. This amendment isn't about stopping innovation. It's about laying down a stable baseline marker. It sets a common sense standard. With AI-enabled military systems must comply with international humanitarian law and, crucially, must remain subject to a human chain of command and control. We need to include safeguards to reduce civilian harm and unintended consequences. I served as an infantryman in Iraq. I know firsthand what it's like to be on the battlefield where life and death decisions had to be made in a split second. War is inherently chaotic, but it requires human judgment, conscience, and accountability. Machines do not have that. They don't have morals. If you take humans out of the kill chain decision-making process, it becomes too easy to kill. And when it's easier to kill, it becomes a hell lot of easier for us to go to war. We've already seen what happens when these technologies lack strict guardrails. It goes badly real fast, and civilians who pay the price. Innovation on the battlefield is inevitable. Surrendering human responsibility, however, is not. We must ensure that human beings, not algorithms, remain fundamentally accountable for lethal decisions. I urge your support of this amendment, and thank you for your time.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 14? If not, what is Herr Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
Dear Mr. Gallego, thank you very much for this amendment. Originally, this is a topic for the second committee, but I fully accept that you bring it up here, and I recommend to vote in favor for it, to have it included also here, but it's also covered by the report and resolution in the second committee.
I shall now put Amendment 14 to vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting card? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Any abstentions? Amendment 14 is adopted. Amendment 15. It's my understanding that Amendment 15 is withdrawn. Does anyone object? If no one objects, Amendment 15 is withdrawn. Now we will move on to
Mr. Chair, point of order. Paragraph
Please
45. Romania.
Please state your point of order.
Mr. Chair, dear colleagues, I have an oral amendment. First of all, I want to thank our rapporteur, Mr. Tobias Winkler.
Which paragraph are you asking?
Paragraph 45.
We're not there yet, sir. Can you wait till we get there?
Okay.
We will now consider paragraph 44. Does anyone want to vote on these paragraphs? On this paragraph, if no one wants to vote, paragraph 44 is agreed to. Now, sir, I will invite you to...
Thank you very much. First
Yes.
of all, I want to thank our rapporteur, Mr. Tobias Winkler, for supporting both my previous amendments. I also want to thank to all our colleagues because supported my amendments and voted for it. And that paragraph 45 for a strengthening message and consistency of the text along the document, and after Baltic Sea, I propose to add under Black Sea to mirror paragraph 24, which already was amendment. After Baltic Sea and the Black Sea, to correspond with the paragraph 24, which already was amendment.
An oral amendment has been proposed at the Baltic Sea to add an oral amendment has been proposed in paragraph 45 to add the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. In accordance with paragraph 10 of Rule 22 of our Rules of Procedure, first I will ask whether there is any objection to the oral amendment being considered. If there is any objection, the oral amendment cannot be considered and it fails. If there is no objection, we will proceed to consider the amendment in the same way as other amendments. That is, we will hear from the proposer of the oral amendment, one speaker against the oral amendment, and the opinion of the rapporteur. We will then decide by a simple majority vote whether to adopt the oral amendment. Is there any objection to the oral amendment being considered? No, there's no objection. And I call the proposer to speak on the amendment. You are now recognized.
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Chair. I already motivated for strengthening a message and the consistency of the text. And to mirror paragraph 24, I think it's necessary this amendment to add, as I said, after Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Herr Winkler, what is your opinion of the amendment?
Dear Costello, thank you very much. We figured it out already during the break. So it's your perspective on the Black Sea, which was not reflected in my text so far. Therefore, I'm very grateful that you brought this perspective into it, and I recommend to vote in favor for this oral amendment.
I shall now put the amendment to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise your voting cards? Will all those against please raise your voting cards? Are there any abstentions? The oral amendment is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 45 as amended. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting card? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 45 as amended is agreed to. Amendment number 16.
Chair, if possible, point of order in terms of from Norway.
The gentleman from Norway has a point of order. If the gentleman from Norway would state his point of order.
Thanks, Chair. In terms of paragraph 24, I know it's a bit late, but we should have added the North Sea. If not too late to add the North Sea in terms of critical infrastructure as well, I would like to suggest that. But that has been worked already, so that might be too late. Thanks.
Would like to remind the gentleman from Norway that we've already made a decision on paragraph 24, and so it's too late for us to look back at that.
Okay.
We are now going to pull up Amendment 16. I call Mr. Alizard from France to propose Amendment 16 to insert a new paragraph after paragraph 45. Mr. Alizard from France, the floor is yours. Is the gentleman from France here? Does anyone else wish to speak on behalf of the gentleman from France? I'm going to ask once again, is there anyone that would like to take up this proposal, this Amendment 16 for Mr. Alizard of France? If not, we're going to withdraw the amendment and move on to the next consideration. I now recognize the gentleman from Georgia.
Although I'm not a signatory of the amendment, but I'll speak in favor of the amendment since Mr. Pascal Alizar is not here. Given the strategic importance of the Black Sea, it is useful if we insert the following paragraph, including facilitation of new corridors within the European Union and NATO, and promoting security in the Black Sea area. So we support this amendment, and I hope the committee will also support this amendment. Thank you very much.
Right, you've now heard from the gentleman from Georgia who spoke on behalf of Mr. Alizard from France. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 16? Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 16? Therefore, what is Herr Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
I think there's no doubt in the room about the importance of the Black Sea region, and if this helps to make it a safer region, this more or less, then we do it. So I would recommend to vote in favor for the amendment, even if the French are not here.
I shall now put Amendment 16 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment, please raise their voting cards? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment 16 is adopted. We will now consider paragraph 46. Does anyone want to vote on paragraph 46? With no request for a vote, paragraph 46 is agreed to. Now we will move on to amendment number 17, and I will call Mr. Burkhardt from Switzerland to propose amendment 17 to paragraph 47. Mr. Burkhardt from Switzerland, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear colleagues, beyond the general principles of transparency and risk reduction set out in this paragraph, we believe it is essential to place these commitments within the broader context of human security. In this regard, we consider it important to include a reference to small arms and light weapons, conventional ammunition, and humanitarian demining, so as to better reflect the realities on the ground. Anti-personnel mines, explosive remnants of war, and unexploded ordnance continue to contaminate vast areas with lasting humanitarian, social, and economic consequences. According to the United Nations, these weapons claim thousands of victims each year. We therefore kindly invite you to support this amendment.
What is Herr Winkler's opinion of the amendment? Oh, is anyone against the amendment? We have the gentleman from Ukraine that would like to speak against the amendment.
Dear colleagues, we're not against this amendment because we absolutely share the proposal of Switzerland delegation. The problem is that our enemy, Russian Federation, doesn't care and won't care at all about these proposals. And this is absolutely unconditional war that we didn't choose, but we have to fight in this unconditional war. So that is why, unfortunately, we have to respond equally to all enemy's efforts against us, using the same types of weapons. We can't agree that we should be disarmed, in this unconditional war. Because again, colleagues, this war is unconditional, and Russia is not going to follow any calls, recommendations, and even international charters or any international agreements. It's a problem for us.
Thank you very much. Herr Winkler, your opinion of the amendment.
Dear Mikhail, I fully understand, but these rules or this document is valid for all participating states. That includes Russia as well as Ukraine. And I find it legitimate to be precise on the arms control and to name also especially humanitarian mine action, which is an important issue. So therefore, I don't see that it's problematic for Ukraine, and we should stick to our principles, and this, I think, reflects it quite well. So therefore, I recommend to vote in favor for this amendment, recognizing your issues with that.
I shall now put Amendment 17 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment, please raise their voting cards? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any are there any abstentions? Excuse me. Amendment 17 is adopted. Paragraph 47. We will now vote on paragraph 47 as amended. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 47 as amended is agreed to. We will now move on to amendment number 18, and I will call Ms. Hetty Fry from Canada to propose amendment 18 to insert a new paragraph after paragraph 47. Ms. Fry of Canada, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Tobias, I want to congratulate you on an excellent report. So I'm going to just ask for this paragraph to be inserted because it is a recommitment to actual statements we made in the declarations in Vancouver, Bucharest, Porto, and it's just consistent with reaffirming our commitment to 1324 Women, Peace and Security. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 18? What is Herr Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
Nobody speaks against Hedi Fry, of course. No, thank you for your amendment. And I would, the only thing, so it will be in the final document, I would like to have it in the third committee, usually where this should be placed. But of course, I'm not against it. And if for you, and maybe we have it then double in the text, but also something that cannot be said often enough. So I recommend to vote in favor.
Thank you.
I shall now put Amendment 18 to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment 18 is adopted. We will now take paragraphs 48 to 51 together. Does anyone want to vote on any of these paragraphs? With no request for a vote, paragraph 48 to 51 are agreed. Now we're going to move on to Amendment 19, and I call Mr. Altunak from Turkey to propose Amendment 19 to paragraph 52. I now recognize the gentleman from Turkey, Mr. Altunak.
Evet, değerli meslektaşlarım, bu yapıcı değişiklik önergesiyle AKİT'in gelişen güvenlik sınamalarına daha etkili yanıt verebilmesi için diyaloğun, güvenin yeniden tesisi ve güven artırıcı önlemlerin önemini vurgulamak istiyoruz. Aynı zamanda katılımcı devletler arasında karşılıklı saygı ve egemen eşitlik ilkelerinin korunması gerektiğine inanıyoruz. Finansman konusunda ise AGİT'in üzerinde mutabık kalınmış görev yetkileriyle uyumlu ve 3 boyutun tamamını dengeli şekilde yansıtan bir yaklaşımın esas alınması önemlidir. Bu nedenle desteğinizi istirham ediyorum. Ayrıca TOBİAS'ın da ilk defa bugüne kadar hiç katılmadı benim ve Türkiye'nin verdiği önergelere. Buna da katılmasını özellikle istirham ediyorum. Biz de bu manada farklı bir bakış açısı yakalayalım. Romanyalı meslektaşım gibi ben de teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Tek bir önergemize dahi katılırsa. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 19? If not, what is Herr Winkler's opinion of the amendment?
Dear Mr. Altenok, it's not only me who was against, so it was the majority of the House. I have to, no, thank you very much for this amendment, which makes it even more precisely. And unfortunately, you only mentioned in your words that also meant is a better balance in financing this institution. This should have been included, but now we see your intention, and I'm fully in favor of that. So therefore, I recommend this time to vote in favor.
Teşekkür ediyorum. Teşekkürler.
I shall now put Amendment 19 to vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Amendment 19 is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 52 as amended. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Will all those in favor please raise their voting cards? Will all of those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? Paragraph 52 as amended is agreed to. Now that concludes the consideration of amendments. I want to thank everybody. I propose that we now formally move to vote on a draft resolution as amended. With those in favor of adopting the draft resolution as amended, please raise their voting cards. With those against, please raise their voting cards. Are there any abstentions? The draft resolution as amended is adopted. I would now like to recognize Mr. Winkler for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all of you for your constructive work. You did a lot of efforts in amending this text and finally also in voting on it. And to be honest, now I see this text is much stronger than it has been before. We took a lot of effort in this together with the Secretariat. I want to thank everyone who drafted it and also to all you for the voting, but also for the amending. And now I think the first committee has delivered. We have a very strong text for the Hague Declaration, and this strengthens also our organization. Thank you very much for your constructive collaboration.
Danke, Herr Winkler. Now we will consider the supplementary item number 1, that's countering the online radicalization of our youth. We will now move to consider supplementary item 1, which is the draft resolution on countering the online radicalization of youth. I would now like to give the floor to the sponsor of this draft and this resolution, Mr. Kamil Aydin of Turkey. Mr. Aden, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the right to do my job then. Dear Chair, distinguished colleagues, in April this year, my home country, Turkey, was devastated by two consecutive days of school shootings. Both attacks share one significant common factor: the intense online activity of the perpetrators. Both were deeply embedded in online platforms, including WhatsApp, Steam, Discord, and Roblox. Their radicalization grew from prolonged exposure to a specific online subculture, one that progressively exploited their vulnerability as young people. These incidents in Turkey are not isolated. They are part of a growing pattern of attacks carried out by young people whose radicalization was shaped and deepened online. The data reflects this pattern with alarming clarity. Last year, children and adolescents accounted for 42% of all terrorism-related investigations, a threefold increase in 5 years. In some cases, children as young as 12 have been arrested for terrorism-related offenses. Radicalization that once took months now unfolds in a matter of weeks. This is becoming especially visible online through algorithms that can expose young users to more extreme content through encrypted messaging services that reduce visibility, and through AI-generated propaganda that is faster to produce and harder to detect. Particularly concerning ones are online gaming platforms, where spaces meant to develop skills, build communities, and connect across borders, which can easily be infiltrated by violent extremists who seek to exploit trust, anonymity, and peer-to-peer communication for recruitment and manipulation. Let me be clear, the internet is not the problem. Quite the contrary, just like television before it, the internet has transformed how we learn, connect, and participate in society. And of course, its benefits are immense. But just as television quickly led societies to introduce safeguards for younger viewers, the same principle must now apply online, not to restrict, but to protect. Our response must therefore be balanced, right-based, and prevention-oriented. We must strengthen the capacity of states, platforms, schools, families, and communities to identify and address risks before they turn into violence. It is for this reason that our committee is introducing the resolution on countering the online radicalization of youth. This resolution calls on participating states to strengthen policies that encourage online platforms, gaming services, and other relevant intermediaries to assess and mitigate risks to minors, promote transparency and accountability, and provide clear reporting and redress mechanisms for young users. It also advocates for stronger cooperation with gaming industry, improved investigative capacities in line with the rule of law, and deeper cross-border cooperation. At the same time, it underlines that prevention must start in communities and schools, with the involvement of teachers, parents, social workers, mental health professionals, and community leaders, and that media and information literacy programs must reflect the realities young people face online. Most importantly, our resolution is firmly grounded in international human rights law, including the rights to freedom of expression, privacy, and non-discrimination. Our goal is simple: to promote an online environment that is as safe for a 12-year-old as it is open for the rest of us. The best interests of the child, as enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, should always prevail online just as offline. This is why I ask for your support in adopting this resolution today. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to remind everybody to please be cognizant of the time, as we have a limited amount of time that we're here, and I appreciate that. The floor is now open for debate. The time limit for speeches is 4 minutes. The time limit for speeches is 4 minutes. The next two speakers that you will hear will be Mrs. Ellen Salmon from Belgium, and Ms. Jarosima Pajovic from Montenegro. If Ms. Salmon from Belgium would please take the floor. It's now yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear colleagues, online radicalization is no longer a theoretical threat. It is a growing security challenge across the OSCE region. Today, extremist groups increasingly recruit through social media, encrypted messaging services, and online gambling platforms. Artificial intelligence is making this problem even more serious by allowing extremist propaganda to be produced and spread faster, cheaper, and on a much larger scale than ever before. This is a challenge that no participating state can address alone. Extremist networks operate across borders, and our cooperation should reflect that reality. I would therefore like to highlight three priorities. First, we should strengthen the exchange of information and best practices between participating states to improve the detection and disruption of online extremist networks. Second, online platforms must take greater responsibility. Illegal terrorist recruitment content should be removed swiftly and transparently, and platforms that systematically fail to act should be held accountable. And third, we must have the courage to identify the main terrorist threat facing Europe today. While every form of violent extremism deserves attention, Islamist extremism continues to pose the most significant terrorist threat to European security. Recognizing that reality is a prerequisite for addressing it effectively. At the same time, we should remain vigilant that measures against online radicalization do not undermine fundamental freedoms. Counter-terrorism must never become a justification for restricting lawful political expression. The distinction between violent extremism and legitimate political opinion must remain firmly protected under the rule of law. This resolution is a valuable contribution to this discussion. It supports its emphasis on prevention, resilience, and international cooperation, while underlining that security and freedom must always go hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you. The next two speakers that you will hear from will be Ms. Pajovic from Montenegro and Mr. Potorayev from Ukraine. Pajovic, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Mark. First of all, I want to use this opportunity to thank Mr. Aydin for introducing this timely supplementary item, but also I want to thank him for his leadership and outstanding work of the ad hoc committee on countering terrorism. Within the committee, we have the opportunity to meet with the leading experts from the field. Just yesterday, we had an important discussion with experts from our host country. Every one of those meetings is both eye-opening and deeply alarming. I will also like to mention the School Dialogue Initiative, an initiative of the CCT committee that brings parliamentarians into direct dialogue with high school students on the challenges of radicalization, online extremism, and democratic resilience. So far, we had organized 2 editions, first in Italy, thanks to our colleague Emanuele Loperfido, and most recently in my home country, Montenegro. What concerns us most is how effectively extremist groups are exploiting digital platforms to reach and manipulate young people. Social media, artificial intelligence, video games, and encrypted messaging services are increasingly being used to radicalize, recruit, and coordinate, making extremist ideologies appear attractive and even cool to vulnerable youth. Perhaps the most alarming finding was that children as young as 12, 13, 14 are being exposed to extremist content online. We even heard the cases of involving an just 8 years old child into extremist content. and extremist activities. This is not a distant threat. This is happening now, and it's growing. And as parliamentarians, we have a responsibility to ensure that our legislation, institutions, and policies keeps pace and with this evolving threat. This is not only a security challenge, it is school, social, moral, and a general one. The question we must ask ourselves is simple: how we are protecting our children, and if we fail to act now, we risk allowing new generation to fall victim to manipulation and violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pajovic. The next and last speaker that you will hear from on this will be Mr. Podorayev from Ukraine.
I think, colleagues, that you all heard that Russians constantly try to recruit children through social platforms to commit suicide terroristic attacks in Ukraine. And unfortunately, we have already first victims. The youngest was only 14. And I know that also in Belgium, children were recruited for terroristic attacks. And again, so as in Ukraine, the youngest was only 14. And thanks to God and to special services that are working constantly in our country, in other European countries, to find and to stop these poor children. Look, internet appeared in the United States. Great technological campaigns appeared in the United States. All these people who created and developed these great technologies and great technological companies, they wanted to change our planet and world to the better. And they definitely succeed. But unfortunately, in this space, this wonderful digital space, now acting Chinese companies and Russian special services and terroristic organizations. So we need collective answer to these challenges and threats. Collective answer through from San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Vancouver to Ulaanbaatar, through all our continents. That's why Ukrainian delegation absolutely support this proposal, this draft resolution, as one of first possible steps to find this collective answer. And we will call to all participating states of OSCE continue to find a collective answer to these challenges and threats. We understand that the world has changed and we have to live in this digital world, but we have and we are able to make this world secure. This is what we have to do. And I'm sure that this draft resolution will help us on this way. Thank you to Turkey colleagues for your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so now we're going to move to the decision on supplementary item number 1. As all of you know, we are required to vote on every paragraph to which there are no amendments. And yesterday, we agreed that in order to save time and to avoid so many votes on items that have broad support, if no amendment has been tabled to a paragraph and if nobody requests a vote, if we could please have order in the front, because I can hear the Polish delegation could, yeah, thank you very much. Yesterday, we agreed that to save time and to avoid many votes on items that have broad support, if no amendment has been tabled to a paragraph and if nobody requests a vote on a paragraph, we can consider it adopted. As before, any time a specific vote is requested, of course, we will do so. Does anyone want a separate vote on any of these paragraphs? Okay, if no, I propose that we now formally vote. I propose that we formally move to a vote on the draft resolution. Will those in favor of adopting the draft resolution please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Will all those against please raise their voting cards? Are there any abstentions? If not, the draft resolution is adopted. Great work. Consideration of supplementary item number 5, strengthening a comprehensive, cooperative, and people-centered approach to combating drug trafficking and drug use and fighting organized crime and all forms of mafia in the OSCE area. We will now move to consider supplementary item 5, which is the draft resolution on strengthening a cooperative and comprehensive and people-centered approach to combating drug trafficking and drug use and fighting organized crime and all forms of mafia in the OSCE area. I would like to now give the floor to the sponsor of this draft resolution, Mr. Eugenio Zoffili from Italy. Mr. Zoffili, you now have the floor.
Grazie Presidente. La droga è una delle più gravi emergenze del nostro tempo, alimenta la criminalità organizzata, produce enormi profitti illeciti, favorisce la corruzione, mette in pericolo soprattutto i nostri ragazzi, i nostri giovani, con conseguenze profonde per la salute, la sicurezza e la coesione delle nostre società. Per questo il supplementary item che ho presentato e che è stato sottoscritto da tanti colleghi propone un approccio globale, cooperativo e incentrato sulla persona. Nessuno Stato può affrontare questa sfida da solo, servono responsabilità condivisa, cooperazione internazionale e un impegno ancora più forte nell'ambito dell'OSCE, sia a livello governativo, ministeriale, sia a livello nostro parlamentare. La seconda conferenza interparlamentare sulla lotta alla criminalità organizzata, che abbiamo voluto intitolare Stop Droga, Stop Drugs, che abbiamo organizzato a Roma alla Camera dei Deputati nel maggio scorso, ha confermato che il narcotraffico è un fenomeno globale e sempre più evoluto. Da qui nasce la necessità di rafforzare lo scambio di informazioni, la cooperazione tra autorità e il coordinamento con altre organizzazioni regionali e internazionali. Dobbiamo colpire i profitti delle mafie seguendo la strategia del follow the money, già tracciata dal giudice italiano Giovanni Falcone, che ha pagato con la propria vita, la vita della sua scorta, la vita anche della sua cara moglie, la propria coraggiosa lotta contro la mafia e la criminalità organizzata. Dobbiamo rafforzare il contrasto ai flussi finanziari illeciti, migliorare gli strumenti investigativi e prestare particolare attenzione alle nuove droghe sintetiche come il fentanyl. Ma questo non basta, la risposta deve mettere al centro la persona, prevenzione, educazione, cura, riabilitazione e reinserimento sociale di chi cade nella rete del traffico e nella rete della droga e delle sostanze stupefacenti sono parti essenziali di una strategia efficace nel pieno rispetto della dignità umana. In questo percorso è stato particolarmente significativo anche l'udienza privata che abbiamo avuto in Vaticano con il Santo Padre Papa Leone XIV. Eravamo 200 persone, un centinaio di parlamentari dell'Assemblea parlamentare dell'OSCE da più di 40 paesi. E il Papa ha espresso nel suo discorso che ci ha rivolto, ha espresso il sostegno a un sistema di giustizia penale efficace, giusto e umano, capace non solo di contrastare il narcotraffico, ma anche di affrontare le cause della marginalità e della dipendenza. Con il ricordo che abbiamo tutti noi, chi ha partecipato a questa udienza, ringrazio i colleghi per essere venuti in tanti a Roma, col ricordo di queste parole che è ancora vivo nella nostra memoria e nei nostri cuori, facciamo nostro il suo alto messaggio. Abbiamo il compito di tradurlo in politiche concrete. E mi avvio alla conclusione. Solo, Presidente, colleghi, unendo i nostri sforzi attraverso la diplomazia parlamentare e una cooperazione sempre più forte, potremo dare una risposta concreta a questa emergenza comune e vincere insieme questa battaglia. Contiamo di ricevere un sostegno bipartisan e trasversale su un problema che non conosce steccati partitici. Vi ringrazio. Grazie, Presidente.
Thank you. Grazie, Mr. Zafili. The floor is now open for debate. The time limit for speeches is 4 minutes. I'm now going to give the floor to Mr. Aliyev from Kyrgyzstan, and then afterwards we will hear from Mr. Potorayev from Ukraine. The gentleman from Kyrgyzstan now has the floor.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги. Здравствуйте еще раз. Я думаю, тема очень правильная. В нашей стране я как депутат парламента инициировал самое большое количество законов, которые были приняты по борьбе с незаконным оборотом наркотиков. И вот, проделав глубокую работу, побеседовав с потерпевшими родителями, самими людьми, которые употребляли наркотики, с правоохранительными органами, с Интерполом, с экспертным сообществом, с людьми с разных стран, служб, мы пришли к выводу, что в 21 веке одной из самых тяжелых проблем – это наркотики. Особенно 21 век с появлением интернета становится очень легко доступным, их распространение среди молодежи. Если раньше образ наркомана – это был человек, уже отставший, по внешнему виду можно определить, то в 21 веке это может быть государственный служащий, сотрудник международных органов или даже правоохранительных, либо студент, либо официант, потому что синтетические наркотики, их целая масса, которые очень легко сегодня приобрести. И поэтому наша делегация полностью поддерживает данную резолюцию, призывает все страны проделать в этом направлении очень хорошую работу. Мы считаем, что вне зависимости от политического режима, политических предпочтений, вне зависимости от расположения страны на политической карте мира на Востоке или на Западе, мы все должны бороться с наркотиками. Это очень большое зло, которое затрагивает все континенты, все материки и практически все государства. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Potorayev from Ukraine, followed by Baroness Winterton from the UK. And the gentleman from the Ukraine now has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, it would be absolute mistake from our side if we accept mafia as something from movies like Godfather, Speaks After Love, and so on and so forth. It is something that still exists, unfortunately. And of course, all civilized countries are putting a lot of efforts to fight with organized crime, but we still have examples of existing organized crime, different gangs, also caused by uncontrolled migration process in different countries. But what I can share with you, colleagues, there is a purely mafia state, which by mistake is called Russian Federation and state. They produce drugs, they are organizing human traffic, you remember that they not once, not even twice, they were caught by sending drugs from South America, like 400 kilos, 300 kilos by channels of their Minister of Foreign Affairs, by diplomatic mail. And you know what is happening on terminally occupied territories of Ukraine? There is no legal power. Well, it looks like legal power, but territories are managed by gangs. Okay, they call them teams. which consists of FSB officers and gangsters, pure gangsters. Again, we have to have strong and even severe collective answer to such threats and challenges as organized crime, starting from mafia state, so-called Russian Federation. That's why I absolutely thankful to Mr. Zafili for his initiative, for his draft resolution as one of important elements of our necessary, possible, and reachable collective answer to dangers and risks which we have from international organized crime. Thank you. Ukrainian delegation will support draft resolution.
Well, thank you very much. The next and last speaker that you will hear from on this topic will be Baroness Winterton from the UK. Baroness Winterton, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted very briefly to express my support for this resolution, this supplementary item, not least because in the third committee, we have just passed a resolution on taking action against human trafficking and modern slavery. And I made the reference there to the fact that I felt that whenever the OSCPA was talking about organised crime, drug smuggling, drug trafficking, we ought to also be including, if we are going to tackle organised crime, the crossover with, for example, human trafficking. And I know the sponsor of the supplementary item is supportive of that, so I just wanted to endorse that approach in this committee as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. On supplementary item number 5, does anyone want a separate vote on any of these paragraphs? If no, I'm going to propose that we now formally move to vote on the draft resolution. Would those in favor of adopting the draft resolution please raise their voting cards? Will those in favor please raise their voting cards? With those against, please raise their voting cards. With those against, please raise their voting cards. Are there any abstentions? The draft resolution is adopted. Thank you. We will now consider the final supplementary item assigned to us by the Standing Committee at our meeting tomorrow morning, followed by the election of the officers. So as of today, the meeting stands adjourned, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your patience and your words and for your participation and coming back this afternoon. Thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned.